This episode is for the woman who's done everything right. I'm probably speaking to her right now. She's done the therapy, she's done the healing work, she's gone to the retreats in Bali and Mexico. She's invested thousands of dollars in courses and coaching. She's genuinely done the inner work. And she would tell you she is better for it. And yet, she's still in the same place, not the same pain, but the same location. The same story keeps getting played out with different characters. She's experiencing what I call the circle back, where the dream gets close enough to touch, and then something, some pattern, some behavior, some old familiar operating system pulls her back to where she started. I call this the circle back. In this episode, I'm going to talk about what happens when the healing is done and yet your life has not evolved, and what it looks like when a woman embodies her evolution fully. But let me describe her more specifically because I think we tend to speak about this in vague terms, and vague language lets us off the hook. This woman is not struggling, she's functioning, often at a high level. She has built something, she has influence. People come to her for guidance. Externally, her life looks like progress, but internally, she keeps arriving at the same wall. She gets close to that next level, to the thing that she actually wants to feel and experience, and then something happens. And here's what I've seen with clients that I take through my emergence map with this. And they tend to get into over preparing. She gets busy with all the wrong things, organizing, gardening, right? Suddenly, drama shows up in her life that requires her emotional capacity. She talks herself out of it. Or worse, she starts and then quietly she circles back to that familiar, safe location where she started. And then, of course, the frustration sets in because she doesn't understand why, because she's done the work. Here's what I need you to understand. The circle back is a behavioral pattern. It's a protective mechanism, something her nervous system and her identity and her earliest experiences have built to keep her safe. And that mechanism has been running quietly in the background, overriding every good intention, every insight, every breakthrough that she's ever had. And personal development work, it addresses the pain and it addresses the story. What it rarely addresses is the pattern, the specific repeating pattern that executes beautifully and automatically when you get too close to real change. You cannot heal your way out of a pattern you cannot see. And that is the gap. That is what keeps you in the loop. It's not lack of knowledge, not lack of healing, not lack of desire, but it's a pattern that has never been fully named, never been traced to its origin, and has never been given a viable alternative. So, for something like this, I built a tool called the Emergence Map. And I built it because I kept watching women, brilliant, capable, spiritually awakened women, circle back. And I realized that what was missing wasn't more healing work. What was missing was a diagnostic, a mirror precise enough to show you the pattern that you cannot see from inside it. So the emergence map, it does three things. First, it identifies the specific repeating behavioral pattern that is keeping you in the loop, right? The exact move you make when you get close to real change. Then it traces the pattern to its origin. Like, where did it come from? What was it originally protecting you from? because understanding why it exists is what allows you to stop fighting it and start working with it. And then thirdly, and this is the part I'm proud of the most, is it generates a customized 90-day plan for you. This is a comprehensive plan that's built specifically around your pattern and your origin story and the next version of your life that is trying to emerge. So, an example of this is I went through a debrief with a client recently, and she told me that she kept seeing her words that she put into the responses show up in the report. But what she didn't see until I showed her was the pattern of the cost, what this was costing her. And it was a thread that led right back to self-respect. You could see it in all three areas. And she thought it was one thing, but at the root of it was something else. It was self-respect. So I showed her that and I told her it's important to see your words reflected back to you, okay, when you're going through this, to be able to see it. Then I showed her the archetype waiting to emerge and the way to embody it. And once I showed her the layered plan to build her self trust and her self respect, it was an aha moment for her. Sometimes we think we know the truth, but we need someone to show us what the real truth is. And I want to be honest with you about why I built this. I built it because I lived it. I know what it is to do the work, genuinely do the work, and still find yourself in the same loop. I was doing it, it felt like for 15 years. I know what it is to have the vision completely clear and watch yourself circle back anyway. I did this in my career. Every time I left a job, went to a new one, I got the same type of bosses, same work environment. I did this in relationships, same type of man dressed up differently. I did this with my health and my weight. I would lose some weight, then I would gain it back. I kept circling back even while I was doing the mirror work and the shadow work and the therapy. And I know what changed for me. It wasn't another retreat. It wasn't getting more insight. It was seeing the pattern, naming it, being able to build something different in its place deliberately over time. And that's what the emergence map gives you. It's an interruption to that pattern. So if you are a woman that has done your inner work, right, and you are still circling, if you know you're meant to build something bigger than what you have built so far, and you're tired of being the most developed version of someone who hasn't moved yet, the emergence map is the next move for you. So I'll put the link in the show notes below for you. Now, let me talk to you real quickly about what it actually looks like when a woman breaks that loop, right? Things show up in your life differently in different ways because this time you're walking a new path that sends you on a journey where the right people, the people that are in your life for your expansion, will show up. You're able to quickly divert when you see the warning signals, and you're not overexerting yourself doing things to build as much because you are being in your full authentic self. If you've been following me for any length of time, you know that I use the archetypes in this work. So this is when the dangerous woman or the Renaissance woman or the wild woman leader shows up, right? This is what embodiment looks like in practice, not as an identity you claim, but as a way of moving through the world that is so fully yours, it becomes undeniable. And here is what else that shifts. You stop seeing yourself as only me. You begin to hold we. And I'm not talking about from a place of martyrdom. I'm talking about shrinking into, or I'm not talking about shrinking into a service, or a leading a cause before you have yet to lead yourself. I'm talking about something different, like the capacity to hold a vision large enough that what you create for yourself, you are simultaneously creating for others, that your expansion becomes a doorway for others, and what you build becomes a blueprint. This is the evolution. It's what comes after the healing. And this is significant, particularly for the time that we're in astrologically, right? Now, I'm not an astrologer, but I follow the planets and it guides me in everything that I do. And the planets right now are not asking women to do more. They're asking women to trust what they already know. Like Venus and Jupiter are meeting in Cancer this summer, and that conjunction is expanding the value of emotional intelligence and intuition and care. Those are the qualities that women have always carried and the world has underestimated. Then the North Node is pulling us collectively towards Pisces, which means that the world is evolving towards what women have always embodied: compassion and wisdom, feeling as information, and connection as currency. And then Saturn conjuncts Neptune and Aries, and that means that this is no longer just a spiritual knowing. It is being asked to make it real, to take form, to be built. So women who are building and creating and teaching and gathering other women right now are exactly where they need to be at exactly the right time. This excites me. This is not the moment to wait for permission from a system that was never designed to recognize what you carry. This is the moment to build something outside of it with the full intelligence you already have. And that is precisely what the architecture of audacity is. This Monday will be Salon 3, the architecture of audacity. And this is not a panel discussion or a masterclass or a presentation, and it's not a room where women are going to be telling you how they made it. This is a demonstration. 4 women with completely different bodies of work thinking collectively around one question: what does it actually take to build outside of the system? And these 4 women are not bringing the same answers. They're bringing 4 different layers of what that construction requires. So we'll have Reverend Evelyn Bourne, who's bringing the spiritual layer, because you cannot build anything sustainable from a place of spiritual displacement. You have to know who you are before you can build anything that lasts. Then we have Lois St. Germain. She's bringing the body, specifically the erotic intelligence that lives in the body, the knowing that comes from our desires in our bodies that most of us have been conditioned to distrust. And that is the first thing the system takes from women. And then we have Tiana Simmons, and she's bringing the structure, the blueprint, because vision without architecture is just a dream. If you cannot build a container for the thing that you're trying to create, it will collapse under its own potential. And I'm bringing the integration, how all of it comes together, how you hold the spiritual and the somatic and the structural simultaneously and build something that is entirely and unapologetically yours. And then this is the part I want you to really get into. Because after those 4 layers are laid out, we move into breakout prototyping sessions where you all get to take turns being the architect, and the other one is the midwife, holding space for each other's dreams and thoughts and ideas. This is not a conversation about what's possible. This is a room where we make something possible. So, if you've been waiting For the moment where the inner work becomes the outer architecture, then Monday is your moment and you should join us. So I will put the link in the show notes below. But I want to close this episode with something. I just want to go back to what I opened with. Remind you that if you've been doing your inner work, the real work, and you're still been circling back, understand that it's because of this pattern that has been built to protect you, and it's been running unchallenged, and it will keep running until something interrupts it. You cannot incite your way out of a behavioral pattern. You have to map it, name it, and build something new in its place. And that's what the emergence map is for. And that's what the Salon 3 is going to be demonstrating on Monday. So you have two invitations. Okay. You can do one and not do the other, or better yet, you can do both. And I suggest you do both. So all of the links for all of that will be in the show notes below. And until next time, thank you for joining. And I'll see you on the next episode of the New Lead Order.